We will now go to House Bill 468, Delegates Love and Boyce. And we also have the rest of ENT here for that bill hearing.
May I bring up my panel, Mr. Chair? Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of Economic Matters, and my entire ENT committee. Nice to see you. I am Delegate Sarah Love, and I am here to present HB 468, the Commission to Advance Lithium-Ion Battery Safety in Maryland. So this bill came up because Vice Chair Boyce and I were contacted by one of the panelists here about some legislation that he was advising on in another state related to lithium-ion batteries. One of them was making sure that replacement batteries in e-bikes and e-scooters were UL certified. Another one had to do with stickers on EVs to make sure that when they caught fire, law enforcement knew what they were. And the more the vice chair and I dug into this, the more that we realized that legislation at this point would be putting the cart before the horse. So just to back up for a second, we use lithium-ion batteries in just about everything. They're in our cell phones, our e-bikes, our e-scooters, our cars, storage, all over the place. And while they're incredibly useful, they also have caused a number of fires. And we have seen fires at recycling centers. We've seen fires at landfills. Obviously, EV cars like ICE cars catch fire, and they have different problems. So as I said, the more we dug into it, the more we realized that there were a lot of experts out there doing wonderful things, and that we knew we needed to know more. We wanted these folks to come together and talk to each other, work on best practices, and come to us with potential regulations and or pieces of legislation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my panel and ask for a favorable report.
Good afternoon, Chair and delegates. I'm here to speak in favor of House Bill 468. My name is Ivan Browning. I'm a lifelong Maryland resident and 24-year career firefighter with Montgomery County Fire and Rescue, currently serving as the Hazardous Materials Battalion Chief. Maryland is no stranger to the hazards associated with lithium-ion battery emergencies, as the fire service across the nation continues responding to incidents originating from devices powered by this technology. These incidents are occurring in all types of occupancies and across transportation methods and are requiring extended mitigation times. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue has responded to known incidents at single-family dwellings, multifamily apartment buildings, both mid-rise and high-rise, educational institutions, and commercial businesses. While the technology is not new and generally safe when used properly, public safety agencies across the state continue their response to an increased number of incidents that have resulted in both property damage and personal injury. In 2023, the state of Maryland Fire Marshal's Office reported 39 lithium-ion battery incidents within the state, and there may be others. We continue to work with agencies such as the Maryland Department of the Environment Emergency Response Division to mitigate these incidents across the state. I believe there are reasons for which we could be seeing the increase from a general lack of public education on best practices for lithium-ion powered devices, increased saturation of the technology in the consumer market, along with technology advancement that has moved faster than fire, building, and other codes can keep up with. The hazards associated with lithium-ion battery technology are of concern to not only public safety agencies, but members of the transportation industry, solid waste and recycling industry, and anyone whose life or business may be disrupted by an emergency initiated from one of these devices. The establishment of this commission will bring together Maryland stakeholders to determine what best practices and guidelines can be implemented moving forward to make the best use of lithium-ion technology, while also keeping the citizens and responders safe through education and training. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Crosby and members of the committee. My name is Dale Bowen, and I'm representing the Maryland State Firemen's Association Legislative Committee. We represent over 340 departments throughout the state and thousands of fire and EMS volunteers. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of House Bill 468. My colleague from Montgomery County has given you a lot of the data that I don't have to share with you. I won't reiterate. I will just say the dramatic impacts of these lithium-ion batteries for our fire service include rapid fire growth and explosion hazards. For us in the fire service, The questions are, how do we respond safely? How do we contain and suppress the fire? I volunteered in the state of Maryland in my 38th year, and times have changed. We can no longer jump off the back step and put every fire out with water. House Bill 468 would direct the commission to look into these and other issues and recommend guidelines for our firefighters to use in the future. And I believe that an amendment has been, submitted to have a representative from the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute on this commission. MIFRE is the leading educator of the volunteer fire service in the state of Maryland and needs to be part of the conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you, Delegate Love and Delegate Boyce, for submitting this bill and recognizing the needs of our firefighters throughout the state of Maryland. Thank you to the committee for your time, and I urge a favorable report on House Bill 468 with the amendment. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you to Delegates Love and Boyce for this opportunity. My name is Bob Swaim. I'm a longtime Maryland resident and subject matter expert. I'm a semi-retired NTSB aviation accident investigator. I've been doing lithium battery fire investigations for over 11 years now. I work closely with firefighters around the world and in Maryland since the late 1980s. I led the first Boeing 787 lithium battery fire investigation where a firefighter was burned, and have worked electric vehicle fires since the beginning of 2017. After 32 years with the NTSB, I started the How It Broke website. I work on battery safety issues with SAE, and I teach electric vehicle firefighting courses. When lithium batteries fail, the gas emitted is toxic and usually flammable, so it can ignite the surroundings. A New York State legislator asked for help to improve battery safety in New York, and I related that to our delegates. In our discussions after that, they quickly realized the importance of the topic, asked for ideas, and those are in my written submission of 9 topics. We should fully support the bipartisan House Bill 468 safety bill because while most concepts have already been worked out elsewhere, the goal is a tailored approach for the unique conditions and locations across Maryland. Here's the difference. More important than the emergency response aspects are the preventive. There are questions about management and prevention. Building codes are not ready for an apartment garage full of EVs because extinguishing those takes so much longer. How close can a utility place a large battery system upwind of a school? How do we end the current problem of fires and trash trucks and facilities as mentioned? And we don't know how many large battery installations are in the hearts of the downtown Baltimore skyscrapers. It's worth noting that Denver, New York, and others now require UL approval to combat the problem of like fires. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no questions, we will now go to Michael Sanderson, Kitty McElroy, Pam Casemeyer.
Keep things moving, Mr. Chair. I'm Michael Sanderson with the Maryland Association of Counties. Mostly a Me Too with one extra comment, and that is the earlier legislation talking about the advent of clean energy. Like, this is a part of the near and middle term solution. We don't know what 30 or 50 years out is going to look like, but the next 5, 10, 15 years, clean energy coming from a variety of sources across the state, disparate sources. The only way to make that work efficiently and effectively is going to be by deployment of batteries. Doing it safely with guidance from a group like this is exactly the right way to do it. We support the bill.
Hello, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Pam Casemeyer on behalf of the Maryland Delaware Solid Waste Association, also strongly in support of this, and largely me too, because you've had a long day in the waste industry. We've seen fires in our trucks, fires in our recycling facilities, a lot that we have to manage. It creates a lot of damage to the facilities, but it also then means we can't do the recycling that we were intending to do. And it's very dangerous for drivers and workers. So we're really excited to be included in the membership of this work, and think it'll help us form a framework to address issues related to the battery storage and fires and those safety issues.
Good afternoon, Economic Matters Committee. I'm Kitty McElroy, here as president of Maryland Recycling Network to support HB 468. I bring my experience managing electronics recycling contracts, including lithium-ion battery recycling, over the last 10 years at the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority. I am not speaking on behalf of the authority. Maryland Recycling Network members include municipal recycling managers, private sector, and nonprofit recyclers and individuals. We thank delegates Love and Boyce for sponsoring this bill. Lithium-ion batteries are found in a variety of electronics. When punctured, a chemical reaction can cause a fire or explosion. These chemicals make them burn longer, hotter, more difficult, and hazardous to extinguish. Unfortunately, many of these batteries are ending up in recycling and trash bins. Our members have reported fires on collection trucks, tipping floors at recycling facilities, transfer stations, landfills, and even overnight fires in separately stored electronics areas. A 2022 fire at a recycling facility in York, Pennsylvania, used by some Maryland localities, caused it to shut down. The loss to a facility owner can be more than $50 million. Recycling programs relying on those facilities must scramble to find new outlets. Insurance companies are even backing away from insuring these types of facilities. This task force allows Maryland to investigate this issue statewide, recommend best practices for increased public education, comprehensive protocols with local fire departments, heat spot and fire detection and suppression equipment, as well as report on emerging technologies and industries transitioning away from liquid state to solid state electrolyte-based batteries, which are less susceptible to fires. This will ensure batteries, so essential to many products, can continue to be useful without causing fires and destabilizing our critical infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, we will now go to favorable with amendments. For the first time ever, Bruce Bariano, Evan Vaughn, Maura Cyphers, and Chair Hoover.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Bruce Bariano. I'm here on behalf of my client LKQ and also Caroline County in very strong support of this bill. Want to thank Delegates Love and Boyce. It's a very, very important piece of legislation. On behalf of my client LKQ, they have about 11 facilities here in the state of Maryland. They're automobile dismantlers and recyclers, and they possess the largest quantity of lithium batteries coming out of cars and other electric transportation vehicles. They have a lot of experience and knowledge about this. Everything that was said previously is just so true and essential. We have to get studying on the way for firefighters and EMS people to be able to deal with these unique situations and fires. The amendment which I will propose is to add an automobile recycler and dismantler to this commission. They have great knowledge and expertise, as I said, in this area, and they could lend that to the deliberations of this commission to then come back with further legislation to help firefighters and EMS. I would urge a favorable report. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the committee. I'm Christina Ochoa from the PSC. Chair Hoover had to run across the street, but we do have our senior commission advisor, John Borkowski, on virtual with us for any questions you have.
Hi, good afternoon. Vice Chair Crosby and members of the Economic Matters Committee. I'm Maura Cyphers with the American Clean Power Association. I just want to start by thanking the committee for their good work on creating the energy storage procurement program last year. The PSC process is underway. John Borkowski and his team are leading a really robust process thus far, including an energy storage safety work group. I think there's just a handful of things that I'd like to raise for the committee's consideration when you're looking at this bill. The broad scope is pretty broad. A local government is not going to regulate vapes or suitcases or EVs or e-bikes or storage that you put in your house, garage for backup as they would grid scale battery storage. And so I think throwing everything into the pot might result in some unclear, murky safety guidelines. So I think it's important to segment out by industry, by technology sector, to make sure there's adequate representation on this committee from each kind of industry sector, because there's best science, best practices for all of them. I'm here mostly just to talk about grid scale battery storage. There's the National Fire Prevention Association 855 guidance, they're on their third edition. That comes in like a rolling 3-year research guidance, 26 work groups and committees. It's a real nightmare of experts. So we're already a decade in. We're on, I think, approaching the third edition on a lot of these best practices on safety for grid scale battery storage. New York State was mentioned. They've had a really robust process. They also have some support in place to make sure local governments can adequately site and have resources at the state to manage these projects safely. Thanks very much.
And again, hi, everybody. Evan Vaughn, Executive Director of Merrick Action. We represent, again, utility or grid scale battery storage projects. I agree with everything that Maura just said. I just want to add a couple of points. First of all, both of our organizations do support statewide standards for energy storage safety. No disagreement there. I just want to highlight, as Maura did, there's a couple of incongruities with the way that the bill is currently constructed. First of all, as Maura highlighted, all of the different kinds of lithium ion batteries shouldn't necessarily be regulated the same way from vapes to a large grid scale battery. The other incongruity, which works in the other way, is that not all utility scale battery storage projects are lithium ion. Many of those other battery technologies have different safety characteristics. Many of them have different or lesser issues, but those would not be encapsulated in this. And so my question is to the sponsors, does the PSC's work group on specifically grid connected energy storage, is there a gap with that process that needs to be filled? If not, perhaps removing grid scale from this legislation may make sense. If not, I think, as Maura said, having more representation from the grid scale sector to make sure that maybe there's a subgroup or something to address those issues, that could be workable. But look forward to continued conversations with the committee and happy to take questions. Thank you.
All right, seeing no questions, that concludes this bill hearing.